to do is introduce the panel that's going to have this discussion, and then we're going to keep it somewhat brief since we kind of ran over our time a little bit, but I do think it's important that we have it. So Gil Robertson, who is the president of AAFCA, which is the African American Film Critics Association. Gil is going to be one of our speakers and moderators. Gil, many of you know, also heads up the AAFCA Awards, which is coming up on February 8th in Los Angeles.
And on February 4th, where we will honor Vanessa Morrison with our Ashley Noon Award, Floyd Norman, the Disney animator, with our Legacy Award, Mike Phillips, the Chicago Sun-Times film critic, with our Roger Ebert Award, and Anthony Hemingway with our Horizon Award. So we're really excited. And the highlights of the actual award show will be a tribute to the legacy of Prince, a tribute to Lee Daniels, who's getting the Cinema Vanguard Award, which is a special achievement award, but Lee wanted to have it in the show, so we're having it in the show. And also a tribute to Sidney Poitier.
Fantastic. We're going to have Zola, our very own executive vice president of original programs,
and a recipient of the Ashley Noon Award.
Thank you. Outstanding. Zola is going to be part of this discussion. And let me take a second. Some of you probably don't know. Some years ago, I started, and this is a great combination for me. I started in film with a gentleman named Rob Hardy, who I'm going to introduce next. And after working on a host of films with Rob Hardy, Zola and the team at Fox Searchlight hired Liquid Soul to work on a film called The Secret Life of Bees. And after that, Notorious, and then after that we worked on probably 10 other Searchlight films. And so I thank Zola for not only being a great partner, but just a trusting person and a good heart. She took some Atlanta boys and said, hey, we're going to give you guys a great shot, and it turned into now 16 years later of business that Nick and I have been able to do with Liquid Soul. So how difficult is it for you, for anyone, and I'm going to start with Zola, but to be bold? Because I know even in, before being at BET, there's those opportunities where you have to go in, and sometimes it's an uncomfortable feeling to say, well, hold up, folks, this, quite frankly, is not exactly how things go.
That's a good question. For me, it's not hard to be bold. I grew up under a guy named Peter Rice in the industry. I was in film school and he gave me my shot, and he said to me, I'm going to make you an executive, but you have to sink or swim. And I knew from that day on that, and actually Bill Mechanic, who was running Fox at the time, he said every movie that you make you can get fired behind. So make sure that the movies that you make are ones that are worth getting fired behind if you have to do that. They're ones that you believe in. So everything that I advocated, from Secret Life of Bees, Notorious, because I grew up around the corner from Big, were things that I loved, believed in. The shows that are on the network now, John came in and he pitched us Rebel, and he said, this is what BET should be doing. And I said, yeah. And it was like from then on, we signed on for his vision. We signed on for Rob and Felicia's vision of the Quad. We signed on for creative people that we believe in. So for me, it's not particularly hard to be bold because, I was a lawyer before this. I know what that life is like. I know what it's like being in the grind, doing, a job to make other people rich. And I think we have some of the greatest opportunities and jobs that anyone could ever have. So I'm grateful every day I walk into the office. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for my team. And I think it's my job to be bold. I think if we are just going to do the things that seem familiar, look familiar, that we're supposed to do, then we're going to lose our audience and we're going to lose their trust. We have to push the envelope, and we have to make things that if it's the last show that I make, if it's the last movie that I make, and it's the thing that I get fired behind, I'm going to be proud of that.
When you're creating a project as a producer, it's another thing when you're directing a project and you're collaborating with other people to kind of help bring their vision to life. But one of the challenges about being a director is trying to figure out how to, ask the real important grounded questions that make what we're trying to do make sense. Sometimes, you can have a great idea, but then once everybody weighs in, it kind of doesn't feel as authentic as it used to be. We were just talking about the show Atlanta, and a lot of people, won big at the Golden Globes, and one of the reasons why that happened was because, the guys that were working on that got a chance to really just kind of have this unfiltered vision. And sometimes that's what it takes. is to be bold and to ask questions and to push the envelope. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes people say, yo, that's a little bit annoying, but I kind of feel like if you fight for what your belief is and fight for the vision, at the end of the day, it'll connect with somebody. And that's what we should try to do as filmmakers, storytellers.
Well, from the journalist perspective, we're the front line. People like me and formerly Mitzi, you know, we're the ones who are expected to share the messages to audiences, you know, through all forms of media. And if the show is not authentic, you know, I mean, when you're writing, when it's just you and a piece of paper, you know, it's really a test. It can become a test of your integrity as to what is going to finally end up on that piece of paper if you're asked to review a show or to even, you know, write about an intro piece. And so I think that it's important that that individuals like yourselves are allowed to have a voice, an active role in the construction of these projects, because when they get to us, and ultimately they always do. I was just telling someone here earlier today that, you know, this isn't really our part of it, the front end, as far as Sundance is concerned, but eventually, if the project is successful and finds its way to hitting an audience, it will come across our desk. And so it's, you know, make our jobs easier, not as difficult as they can be. When you're forced to look at product, when you're forced to watch, you know, movies being promoted that don't include the black press. There was a film a couple of years ago, Dope, and in the advertising campaign, literally every outlet in creation was mentioned except for a black one. And I'm like, well, how is this movie, which is about black people, being marketed to a black demo? Not one, not even Vibe, the source. You know, no one from that demo that the film was being marketed to reads Rolling Stones. But yet Rolling Stones was front and center as far as leading that campaign.
A lot of people that were covering my work, the work that I was trying to do, really identified with anything that was throwing up. They looked at it as kind of, you know, from afar. But a lot of the black journalists, they always held me up because they understood exactly what I was trying to do in the storytelling that I was trying to do. And I didn't think what I was doing was so innovative. I just thought it was doing what's out there and putting it up on the screen. And so I've always had this dialogue with Gil, even before you did this organization, that we need to have our own interpreters, because, you know, we can do great work, and some of us have done very good work in the past, and it's been dismissed, it's been poo-pooed, it's been like, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? You know, and to have a body of journalists that really understand, you know, cultural context and what we were trying to do collectively as filmmakers of colors and storytellers of color, that's very, very important to us.
That really means to you.
So basically, from my standpoint, it was a matter of us and us, myself, meaning myself, Felicia Henderson, and Charles Holland and Mitzi Miller, kind of, you know, talking and collaborating and doing things and trying to figure out the best way to present the show. And it was something that we had talked to Zola about, and she responded to it, and we appreciated that. And one of the things that Zola stressed was, you know, it maintaining its authenticity when we were first working with her on the project. And we appreciated that, and we appreciated the fact that you trusted us with that. And, you know, for us it was important, and I know specifically Mitzi and I went to Florida A&M University, represent. And so it was important for us that the show maintain its authenticity, and to be able to have a partner that cares about that, and a partner that is willing to, you know, put money behind it is important. So that way, you know, Felicia and Charles feel comfortable writing and letting it live in that space. And, you know, it makes, you know, our jobs as creatives, you know, that much easier. You don't always get that support. Sometimes you can go and watch a TV show, you can go and watch a movie, and you say, man, that movie sucked, or that TV show sucked. Well, probably it was a good idea when it came in. But once everybody weighed in and nobody was really connected to the project, then it just kind of lost its soul. And, you know, it's good when you go to a place where people take ownership of it, and the executives, you know, I see Rose Catherine, you know, I see Robbie, the executives care about it, and they put their all into it. And, you know, I think sometimes you can tell a passion about it because people, you know, may disagree sometimes. They know it needs to be like this, but sometimes that can be a good thing because you know that they care. And so you want to be in a place where people care, and then at the end of the day, it's on the screen. So.
She has braids, she has her natural hair, and to have an African American lead character on TV where that is, she is unapologetically black, that is really exciting. It's a different depiction than some of the other leading characters that we see on TV. Really cool. But if we want to have the various different depictions and we want to have an array of images, then we got to support them in the same way that we had the movement behind supporting the array of black films that were out there. But we don't have that level of activism. People are like, I'll TiVo it, I'll watch it later. And those are the things that make it impossible to sustain the shows. So people have to go, I'm watching it live that night. I'm doing a viewing party for all my friends. I'm making sure I'm tweeting about it, even if it's not your show, even if it's not your thing. But making sure that everybody's responsible, because that community that we had, at least that I felt when I was in film, I don't feel that level of urgency behind the TV shows. And in film, people knew the minute that show, that movie doesn't work, 10 more ain't getting made behind it. Do people understand that about TV? I don't know that they do. However, because we're in a great time. We're in, you know, listen, a beautiful time. I'm thrilled with all the images of African American and African people that are on TV right now. However, that can stop tomorrow. So what are we doing to make sure that it doesn't? And that's everybody in this room's role. So I kind of want to, you know, I don't know if we opened it up, I don't know if that was part of the plan, but I just do feel that it's very, very important for everybody to take a role in that, because if we don't support them, they're not going to happen.
That's a good point.
I do see lots of film that is not that great, but gets supported because the story does identify with people. So sometimes the content doesn't have, the quality doesn't have to be that great. And then there's other times that it's such great quality that people are following it so that it gets the accolades in a different way. So there's a balance there.
You're right, like Atlanta, it's not a group of people going, what would this look like, you know, if black people did it? Well, it looks pretty much the same, it's just people from the region. And so I think the content has to really start truly reflecting it. It's both writers, it's directors, it's executives understanding that you can't, I feel like there's still people who are saying, can we make it blacker? And I'm like, well, it was black enough the first time. Like, the best part about Atlanta is it's not at the black that people have had. It's just, it's extremely black because they're not writing black. They just are. And so I think that we have to start being very true to what we're writing and how we're presenting, because it's a great show based on that.
Creating platforms where they can be authentic. And so again, with both of those people that we're mentioning, if they already have a following, they're given a platform, and then they can be authentic, then they're bringing their audience with them, and then that grows with the network. But collectively, we have to be willing to support that. We have to be willing to say, okay, well, if we're going to buy into Donald Glover or Issa Rae, then let's really buy into it. Let's not come in and say, no. You know, now let's change it to make it this, because their success is only increasing because they are.
I want to thank you all for attending the dinner. There is a reception. It's snowing outside, and it's much warmer in here. So I don't think we have to immediately leave, according to my wife. We have time. So we're going to kind of still hang out here for a while. I think they're still doing some fire dancing out there. I'm not exactly sure. But I personally wanted to say how much I appreciate many of you responding to the call. What you don't know is that 3 weeks ago, this was not going to happen. And I'm going to tell a little story. 3 weeks ago, it was not going to happen. I was driving home. I was upset. And I texted Zola. And I said, Zola, I need to do, this is what I'm trying to do, blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, send me an email. And I said, here's what I need. And she said, let's talk about it.
This is all true.
She said, let's talk about it. And then we decided, you know, we made some calls because we weren't sure where, but The folks here were very grateful and gracious, and I want to thank the Board of Astoria for working so diligently to help us pull all this together. But more than anything, you know, a few of us had to reach out to all of you, and all of you also kind of returned the favor by showing up and attending, even when you had other events, Brooks. So I appreciate you being here, and others that had other things and made an effort to still stop through. So this is a great way to kick off Sundance. I'm excited about what this year has to offer. There's a lot. I think Sundance feels rich and culturally rich, and I think that this is part of the reason why a lot of us are here, to kind of learn and soak up what Sundance has to offer, as well as to meet some folks where you can broker some deals and begin to learn what the art of deal making is about, as well as investors and others. So I encourage you to stretch beyond your norm, to introduce yourself to some folks that you may not know, and to tell them what you do. It's funny when people find out that, you know, I've marketed, Liquid Soul has done 26 #1 films, everything from the Lorax to Row One. And we've done over 150 film campaigns, which have grossed now close to $2 billion. And Nick and I don't run around touting that all the time, but quite frankly, we the shit. I don't sit around and run on it, but we are. And it's because we work with good people. I mean, I started right here, and we've been true to that, right, from day one.
Of course.
I mean, but I think that this is where you got a place to really reach out and talk to some folks, make some new friends, and hopefully walk away from Sundance better than when you came. So again, thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here. Enjoy yourselves.